Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: Ivory Coast is mourning the death of Prime Minister and presidential candidate Amadou Koulibaly 3 months before the presidential election. Mali's opposition movement calls for a mass protest this Friday to demand President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's resignation after fruitless talks. England and West Indies players united to take a knee in support of the fight against racial injustice as international cricket resumed on Wednesday.
Mes chers compatriotes.
My dear compatriots, the Ivory Coast is in mourning. I am deeply saddened to announce that Prime Minister Amadou Koulibaly, head of government, has left us at the beginning of this afternoon after taking part in the Council of Ministers this Wednesday, 8 July 2020.
This statement, written by Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara and read on national television on Wednesday afternoon by the Secretary General of the Presidency, came after Prime Minister and presidential candidate Amadou Koulibaly suddenly died just hours before, after becoming unwell during a cabinet meeting in Abidjan. The 61-year-old was taken to hospital, where he later died. President Ouattara expressed his deepest condolences to the nation and paid tribute to the late head of government.
Je voudrais, au nom du gouvernement,
I would like, on behalf of the government and on my own behalf, to offer my deepest condolences to the great Koulibaly family, to all the families that have gone, and to all Ivorians. I pay tribute to my younger brother, my son, Amadou Koulibaly, who was my closest collaborator for 30 years. I salute the memory of the statesman of a great loyalty, devotion and love for his country. With the death of Amadou Koulibaly, the Ivory Coast loses a model for its youth, an example of skill, hard work and self-sacrifice. May his soul rest in peace.
que son âme repose en paix.
Ivorian politicians, including members of the opposition, expressed their grief and complete shock shortly after the announcement. African politicians, such as Senegalese President Macky Sall and Burkina Faso's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alpha Barry, also expressed their sadness and deepest condolences on social media. Koulibaly had just returned from a 2-month stay in France, where he had received medical treatment for recurring heart issues. He was appointed Prime Minister in 2017. He was the candidate for the presidential party for the October presidential election. His sudden death creates significant uncertainty over the upcoming election and raises the question of who might now be chosen as the party's presidential candidate. While some speculate it could be Defense Minister Ahmed Bakayoko, who had served as interim Prime Minister while Koulibaly was in France for rest, others suggest that outgoing Ouattara might also decide to seek a third term now that there is no backup plan. In Mali, after giving the dialogue a chance, the protest movement led by influential Imam Mahmoud Dicko renewed calls on Wednesday for a mass protest on Friday to demand President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's resignation. The announcement comes only a few days after the opposition movement's first official meeting with President Keita proved unsuccessful. Dicko's supporters stated that during their meeting, President Keita had turned a deaf ear to their requests, which included the dissolution of parliament and the formation of a transitional government following the controversial outcome of March's parliamentary election, which the presidential party won. The leading opposition figure had led thousands of people in protest last month, denouncing a perceived lack of government response to jihadist violence, poor governance, and electoral fraud. On the economic front, Namibia's cash-strapped national airline Air Namibia will continue to operate despite the Transportation Commission's decision to suspend its air service license over safety concerns and lack of financial resources. The High Court overturned on Wednesday evening the Transportation Commission's decision to suspend commercial flights, which was set to take effect from midnight on Wednesday, arguing that the Commission's decision, taken on the 6th of June, was unlawful and invalid. The High Court has asked the Commission to justify why its decision to overrule the suspension should not be made final on the 3rd of August. Its decision comes after the Finance Ministry announced last week that Air Namibia needed some 7 billion rounds of $420,000 to stay airborne and gave until July 22nd to provide evidence of having secured sufficient funding or risk having its operating license cancelled. In Nigeria, domestic flights resumed on Wednesday after a 3-month suspension due to the coronavirus pandemic. Abuja Airport reopened for flights with strict COVID-19 health measures that travelers must follow.
I think it was well planned, properly planned, and protocols were mainly observed. In summary, it was a seamless process. So yes, kudos to the planners.
The protocol is nice. First of all, you come, they'll sanitize your luggage, you wash your hands, you go clean up and then join the queue. So it's good. The safe distance principle, wearing your nose mask, everything is good. They're trying their best, but I can see the airport is very empty for now. People are not rushing. For some of us that have very important meetings to attend, we're the one traveling right now.
Last week, the aviation minister confirmed that other airports, including the ones in Kano City and Port Harcourt, will reopen on the 11th and 15th of July. International flights will remain suspended until further notice. Nigeria's neighboring country Chad announced on Wednesday the reopening of its airspace from the 1st of August. The Chadian authorities confirmed the upcoming resumption of domestic, international and commercial flights that had been suspended since March due to the coronavirus pandemic. In Sudan, the authorities began easing coronavirus restrictions on Wednesday in and around the capital Khartoum after 3 months of strict lockdown restrictions. The measures implemented since April to limit the spread of coronavirus have aggravated the country's economic crisis, marked by high inflation and cash shortages.
People have been very affected and a lot of goods have rotted. We have high rents to pay in addition to the usual labor and expenses. The best season for shopkeepers is usually Ramadan, but the stores were closed and shopkeepers have to pay the charges out of their own pockets.
I'm a sales representative and I delivered goods during the authorized period between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. We are committed to respecting health recommendations.
The days are long for the inhabitants. The living conditions are difficult. The population cannot stand it any longer. People have respected the rules, but they will not be able to respect them any longer.
The nighttime curfew remains in place in Khartoum state, but since Wednesday it now starts from the later time of 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. local time. Government services such as public transportation or healthcare will gradually resume from the 19th of July, according to local press. While the Sudanese authorities decreed the lifting of lockdown restrictions in and around the capital Khartoum on Wednesday, hundreds of people protested in central Darfur, demanding a better security climate in the long marginalized western region. They accused the transitional government of failing to protect them from militia attacks. The armed men empowered by ousted President Omar al-Bashir are continuously spreading terror in the farms of the city of Nertiti.
Women in general have no source of income. We, the women of Nertiti, have no business other than farming. When we go to work in the fields, we have our rights violated, and we often get beaten and sometimes even raped.
For a long period of time, we have had our life and income dependent on agriculture. That's why we care about the security issue. And until now, the revolutionaries are still in the protest squares until they rest assured that all the procedures have started to take place. Because until today, there are still settlers in the lands of the farmers who are still not able to go to their farms.
The protesters' demands are winning attention from the government. The transitional government recently expressed its full solidarity with the protests that have been ongoing for more than 10 days, as a result of which a few local officials in Nertiti have been fired over the weekend. On the international scene in the United Kingdom, England and West Indies players united to take a knee on Wednesday in support of the fight against racial injustice as international cricket resumed after a 4-month suspension due to the coronavirus pandemic. West Indies players also wore black gloves on their right hands, echoing the historic Black Power salute displayed by African-American athletes Tommy Smith and John Carlos during the playing of the United States national anthem at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. Both teams were wearing custom logos on their shirts during the 3-match series. This gesture comes after the England and Wales Cricket Board announced new measures to boost diversity on Tuesday, saying that the Black Lives Matter movement had forced them to face uncomfortable truth. Finally, in South Africa, a charity handed scarves to people in need on Wednesday. The initiative is part of Mandela Day, which called for acts of kindness on the late revolutionary icon's birthday, which is the 18th of July.
Okay, so the scarves, what we do every year is we've been putting up scarves around the country. We always do it in the beginning of July, before Mandela Day, because it does get cold. And it's one of our fun initiatives that we do. Scarves are quick to make, they're easy to make, and people are cold. And what we do is we put them up with a note that says, if you're cold, take me, I'll keep you warm. It's a beautiful initiative, and we put them up here, and we put them up in venues right around the country. And I think we never ever need to forget what Nelson Mandela has said and what he's taught us. And it's about our tolerance, it's about us doing something and paying it forward, and it's also about volunteerism. And as he said, and as we keep saying, it's in our hands. It's up to us to make changes.
The social welfare group dispatched plenty of needed scarves in a Johannesburg park that anyone can grab free of charge.
This is the path I usually take when I leave work. I saw the scarves hanging on the trees. I thought maybe they are for sale, but no, they said, come, these scarves are being handed out for free, and then I choose one.
This year marks the 5th year that the charity named 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day hosted this nationwide initiative. Its founder, Caroline Stern, says the objective is to bring some love and brightness to South Africa. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.